Okay, excuse me. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Wednesday hump day edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hoodco Roofing, HoodcoRoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProChargeEV.com. Ooh, that is not what I want. Whoops. Whoops. All right, everybody. Hope y'all's morning is off to a magnificent start. I love when we get to Wednesday, because Wednesday it feels like everything from the previous week is in the rearview mirror, and we are now looking ahead to the weekend. As a matter of fact, today you have football today, and today starts a 48 consecutive days of football. You get football every day for the next 48 days, which is pretty stinking cool. So, like every single day for the next 48 days, you will have football on TV if you want to watch football. So last night was the last night without football. Although shout out, Jimmy Ott, Otterlocks gave you the Phillies. Ching! Always nice cashing a ticket. So anyway, all right, we'll say some good mornings. In the title there, I have Can LSU Reclaim DBU? I'm not sure if y'all have been paying attention, but the last couple of days, we've gotten into this conversation about how LSU has had some of the issues they've had with respect to the roster and NIL, and certainly what's happened there in the defensive backfield. Curious your takeaway on it. Again, I'll sort of summarize, give you the Cliff Notes. If you want, you can go check out the After Further Review YouTube channel and see the videos the last couple of days that kind of give you a longer form version. But bottom line is, LSU had recruited a ton of DBs there, and I think they had 5 corners in the 2019 class. It had 3 in 2020, and then 1 in 2021, and then obviously Ogeron got fired in 21, and it's always a little difficult when a new coach comes in, a class falls apart, and then McLaughlin and Ricks left, and you had to go into the portal. And anyway, so we kind of know what's happened is you've had to go heavy in the portal at cornerback, and you did pretty well a year ago, and then this year not so great, and so they're trying to rebuild it now. And so I've kind of talked about how the LSU collective was underfunded, and they kind of need to get that rolling again. And I'm really interested because my opinion is for LSU to fund its collective. I don't know that it's going to happen aggressively through boosters, through like big time donors. So I'm wondering if LSU is going to be able to mobilize its fan base. They've struggled to do so. Whenever the Bayou Traditions launched, they had this big launch, and it was, sent out this appeal to fans, how you can donate, and one time, a recurring donation, blah 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 blah, and nobody did. Because I think for fans, they have a tough time saying, yes, here, I'm going to give my money to this thing that I don't get a write-off. I don't get priority points or anything like that. TAF, you get a write-off and you get priority points. And I'm just going to sort of pay the players. So I think people have struggled with that. So I think what you have to do, if you're serious about it, if you're LSU, is what you did back in 2003 when you instituted the Tradition Fund. They had someone who was wildly popular, and Skip Bertman. They moved into the athletic director role to basically fall on that sword. And he did. And I think they're going to have to do something similar to fund this collective. Like, if you added a $2 tax on every ticket sold or something like that, and it went straight into the collective, I think that's what they would have to do. Now, the problem is, if you're Scott Woodward and you're trying to fund an athletic department and you generate revenue and you don't get to determine where that revenue goes, meaning salaries, facilities, other resources. It's tough. Anyway, so I'm curious your thoughts on it. Let me know. All right, let's say some good mornings here. Hey, Dad, good morning. Jamie Leday, good morning. Charlie Cavell, what up? Tony Williams, Ellen Carbo, Alice, good morning. Or Ailes, A-L-E-S. Bubba Smith, Dale Broussard. Tigers bounce back and roll Mizzou Saturday. So honestly, Dale, I was talking yesterday. Shay Dixon and I were doing a sports takeover on WBRZ. We filmed that on Tuesday mornings, and it airs Tuesday evenings. And Shay made a great point. He said Vegas told me everything I need to know. LSU coming off an historically bad defensive performance on the road against a ranked Missouri team, 5-0 Missouri, sellout crowd. Everything points to being in Missouri's favor, and LSU's a touchdown favorite. The odds makers are begging humans to throw their cash at Missouri and just lose it. So I agree. We talked about it yesterday on AFR. When you look at recent, really sort of tough or embarrassing losses, the bounce back has been pretty incredible. You know, last year, the embarrassing loss at home against Tennessee, a week later, you go to Florida, you score 45 and win. In 2021, you lost to Kentucky, they blew you out. It was 42-21, but it wasn't that close if you remember the game. You got manhandled. A week later, Ty Davis Price runs for 300 yards and LSU beats Florida in Tiger Stadium. 2020, 55-17, you lose to Alabama in a game where Bama had 45 in the first half, and if Bama wanted to score 100 that day, they could have. A week later, you go to Gainesville, you beat Florida in the fog. 2017, at Orgeron's first year, you lose to Troy. A week later, you go to Gainesville and win 17-16. Now, the recurring theme there is all those rebound losses came against Florida. And I think part of it is Florida gets your attention when Florida's on the schedule. Maybe Missouri doesn't, but I do think there's something to be said for when you lose, you're a competitor, and you're embarrassed the way LSU was, you do one of two things. You either tuck tail and you wilt, or you get really, really locked in and motivated to go make amends, and you play out your mind. I think that's what we're going to see LSU do on Saturday. I do think LSU wins and wins comfortably. Devin Johnson, good morning. Stuck at home, got COVID. I don't know why are people still testing for COVID? I mean, I don't know why you would go do a COVID test. If you don't feel well, don't go to work, but I don't know why anybody would do a COVID test. I hope you feel better, Devin. First, I hope you feel better. Brian Wynn, Brian Penn, good morning, Phoenix, Arizona. And from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Tacoma, Philadelphia, Atlanta, LA. Little Steve Miller, a little rockin' me. Let's see Steve Miller at Jazz Fest this year. Andrew Haycock, good morning. From Past Christian. Okay, Brad David, Wendell Norman, Trivia Carter, Jesse Brown, Cody Kibido. Morning, Matt. Given the gaggle of running backs and struggles on defense, would it be more prudent to become a run-oriented team? Eat clock, keep your defense on the field, off the field. You know, Cody, while I understand your point, I think you also have, look what happened at the end of the game against Ole Miss. You get the ball 5 minutes to go. You're up 2. You'd love to go into a 5-minute offense here. First play, they throw 22 yards to Mason Taylor. And then you're right around midfield, and then they try to run it. And you completely lost your rhythm offensively. I say you do what you do. Do what you do. If what you do is score 50, go score 50. Let's see, trivia. I keep seeing people call for Lane Kiffin to be the next head coach of the Saints. Would that be a good fit? Maybe. I am more of a believer in offensive-minded head coaches in the modern NFL. Look at the best teams. The Niners with Shanahan, the Eagles with Sirianni, the Bengals with Taylor. Of course, the Rams won a Super Bowl with McVay. You have offensive-minded head coaches. So, yes, I think an offensive-minded head coach is the way to go. I think Kiffin not being a great recruiter hampers him a bit in the college game, wouldn't have to worry about it at the next level. And his failure with the Raiders as a 33-year-old, he had no business being a head coach in the NFL at that point. So it would be interesting. Wouldn't be my first choice. But it would be interesting. Hey, Rebecca Claire, good morning. Ryan Slate, good morning. Happy hump day. Matt, what day is it? Bailey C. So Brian Kelly comes to LSU because the resources, yet collective is pitiful. Either LSU is elite or isn't. So Bailey C., you're not having the same conversation. For example, resources as far as talent. Remember Brian Kelly, his first recruiting class, right? Brian Kelly gets the first day he gets to campus, and he drives to Catholic High to go see Emory Jones and Shelton Sampson. And then he goes to Liberty to see Caleb Jackson, and he goes to Zachary to see Kylan Jackson, and he goes to Woodlawn to see Ricky Collins. You understand my point? That's all in his city. Will Campbell, 5-star, 15, 20-minute plane ride to Monroe. That's an inherent resource that Louisiana and that LSU has, is the dirt. And LSU has had commitment from boosters to get done what they needed done, to get done what they need. For example, paying Brian Kelly $100 million. Brian Kelly wanted the new training facility, the athletic training facility, which is being added on to football ops. They needed that raised and done. The collective is proving to be a different beast, because you're not talking about facilities. You're not talking about something that's a tax-deductible donation. You're not talking about something that gets you priority points and all that sort of stuff. You're talking about just saying, hey, I just need you to give me money. LSU was really good at the old way recruiting was done. Hey, we need to get this kid housing. We need to get this kid. And please spare me. We can have the conversation in open daylight today about how things have been done in recruiting forever, okay? Yes, LSU paid players and provided impermissible benefits and all that crap because that's how it was done. And LSU knew who to go to get this or that. But now that the spotlight is shining on everything, it's more difficult. Let's see. So actually, Bailey seated, it's not as cut and dried as you put it there. LSU is elite, and they have tremendous resources. It's why they won for as long as they have. NIL is a different tangent, a different branch on the tree. And you could have a big, strong, beautiful tree with a mighty trunk that towers into the sky and tons of leafy branches, and there's that one dead branch. Happens. Jesse Brown, morning, Matt. I know it's early. Do you think Dennis Allen is fired at the end of the season if things continue, or does he get one more year to make staff changes? Jesse, how does the season go? I mean, I would tell you that I think he would have been one and done last year, but for how they finished in December. And if you remember, the Saints, although the offense was putrid, managed to go win in Cleveland in that game that was 5 degrees. They won in Philly, and I think there was no Jalen Hurts in that. I think that was when Hurts was hurt. And they beat Atlanta in the Dome. So if you remember, after they blew the Sunday night game to Tampa, 17-16. Or I'm sorry, I wouldn't say it was Monday. It was Monday Night Football. They played on Monday Night Football. They were beating Tampa by 13 with 2 minutes to go and lost. After that, they went into their bye. Coming out of their bye, they beat Atlanta 21-18. They beat Cleveland 17-10. They beat Philly 20-10. And then they lost week 18 at home to Carolina 10-7. Had they not beaten Atlanta, Cleveland, Philly, or certainly Cleveland, Philly, I mean, on the road, that was Deshaun Watson was playing by that point. Philly was obviously really good, but and if you had finished 4-13 or 5-12, I think he might have been fired a year ago. So if you finish 4-13 this year, do I think he's fired? Yes. All right, please smash that like button if you would. Subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. We appreciate y'all for being here. If LSU wins a coin toss, maybe don't defer this time. No, I disagree with you, Brant. No. It was the right call because you want the extra possession in the second half. Look at what LSU was able to do. You scored at the end of the first half, start of the second half, and you got the lead back. That's 2 weeks in a row you've seen LSU do that. And you want the extra possession in the second half. LSU had their opportunity. They had the ball 5 minutes to go. Couldn't score. You gave back to Ole Miss, and they scored. And then you had the ball and still had an opportunity to go win it. So, no, you defer. You want the extra possession in the second half. Ryan Amanda Guidry, Mark Bayard, good morning. Richard Dukin, morning. Does Ryan Clark have any interest in coaching? I'd love to see him connected to the staff somehow. You know, Richard, I think there's a time where that might happen. I have talked to Ryan about that in the past. What he's not going to do is go the 1AA route. But he's right now, his schedule is such that, I don't think he does TV forever, by the way. I think that could change. But I could see Ryan coaching. But it would have to be a thing where, he's hired as LSU's defensive backs coach, period. But I think, his when Jordan is done at Arizona State, his youngest daughter, Logan, I believe is a senior at Parkview this year. And so when Logan is done and goes to college, I'm not speaking for Ryan, by the way, at all. But I could see a scenario because I have asked him. I have asked him that in the past. I could see a scenario where that happens, but not until Jordan's done playing and Logan's done in high school. And so after this year, I think something like that could become more of a possibility. But I don't know that it's necessarily imminent or anything. Let's see a couple more minutes here. Tony Thomas, Mark Bayard. Did anyone ever figure out the reason LSU D-line was so far off the ball? It's just how they're coaching, man. I think that'll change this week with Pete Jenkins there. Michael Cook, good morning. Taz, can't believe DA refuses to change the offensive coordinator, risks losing his job, team over Pete. If it keeps getting worse, that may change, Taz. They go to New England this week and score 12 points. You may see a change. Joey B19, if we lose this game, what does the conversation look like next week? I assume you're talking about LSU, hence Joey B19. So, if you lose to Missouri, you really start to worry about the unraveling. You come home against Auburn, which is a winnable game, but if Auburn plays as well as it did against Georgia, and LSU's defense continues to face plant, it could get bad. You have Army, then an open date. Hard to imagine you win at Bama. You come home against Florida. Which Florida do you see? The Florida that beat Tennessee, the Florida that was embarrassed on the road against Utah and Kentucky. And A&M looks like they've steadied themselves, certainly. So, Brad David, even though they won championships, does it still make financial sense to invest in Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson when those sports don't produce revenue? Football does. Yes, Brad, because as I've explained, those are loss leaders. You will never make money on women's basketball. You are going to lose money, net, right? If you just look at a balance sheet, what it causes to run that program, and the revenue you generate, you will never make money. Even with the ticket increase this year, that's going to bring an estimated $300,000 in additional revenue to women's basketball. They lose. What did I say the number was? They lose $6 million a year, something like that. So it's a pimple on a bee's behind. but it's a loss leader. I mean, look at how many people talk about, are aware of the LSU brand because of Kim Mulkey and the LSU women's basketball team. Same thing with Jay Johnson and LSU baseball. When Skeens and Cruz go 1-2, when you're owning ESPN in June in the Super Regional and Omaha round, when you've got LSU guys playing in Major League Baseball all over the place, no, I mean, it's that all benefits things like donations and applications to the university and everything. So, you want to be good in all those very public sports, yes. Bailey C. turning the citizens of Louisiana to fund a collective is like asking one-legged man to win a race. We're the poorest state in the union. What's your priorities, Bailey? And again, I'm not saying that LSU's already asked that, by the way. I mean, they sent an email to everybody that's ever contributed anything to LSU to contribute to Bayou Traditions, and it didn't go well. My point is, you put an additional tax on your tickets or whatever, and you may complain and whine and moan, just like we do with our income taxes, but you don't have a choice, you pay it, or you go to jail. So, I mean, you can whine and moan or whatever you want, but every year, our tax bill comes due. Same thing. This is the same thing I'm saying as far as if LSU wants to fund their collective. Put $1 tax on every ticket sold, $2, $5, whatever it is. Say that dollar's going into the collective. I mean, you don't get to decide where your revenue is going now when you buy tickets or concessions or anything. Like, you don't get to decide how that money's spent. Taz, Gruden is the only person I can see bringing in as an OC at this point of the season if a switch was to be made. The really tough part about that, though, Taz, is, and I would worry about changing systems and terminology and all that stuff mid-season. I mean, you've gone from, OTAs and minicamp and training camp and preseason, and now you're 4 games into the season. Now you're going to bring in an all-new system. I don't see that. If you wanted to switch duties internally, okay. Like Lance Moore suggested, Ronald Curry calling plays. Look, and we saw, Dennis Allen gave Ronald Curry that opportunity during the preseason. Curry called plays in some of the preseason games. So that's something that could be an option if you're looking to make a change. So, all right, y'all, shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. As always, need North Petest. Brock, they're the best. And Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. I got the Hudco Google review link pinned again. Appreciate everybody who's helped us out there. If you could just take 10 seconds. Click that link, hit reviews, just do 5-star, submit. That would be awesome. I'd appreciate it so much if you'd help us. So leave it Hudco 5-star Google review. All right. I got to go. It's 8:01. Got to get Drew up and get him out of school. So thank y'all so much. Okay, real quick. I'll do this quickly. Dwight Lewis said, Matt, I heard you say LSU boosters need to step up, but LSU had the 2nd best transfer class, the 6th best recruiting class in 2023. How could they improve on that? Okay, Dwight, good question. The transfer rankings are an aggregate, right? So when you look at the ranking, it's based on the total number of the cumulative rating of all the players you sign. Well, when LSU signs 17 transfers, Colorado had the number 1 transfer class ranking. They had 51 players. LSU had number 2, 14 players. Ole Miss had number 3, 23 players, right? USC 4, 15 players. Auburn, 20 players, right? That's the reason your ranking is so high, is because you signed so many players. The quality of your player wasn't great. That's the problem. Like, let me ask you this. Would you rather... So here's the example. LSU's transfer class was 2. Florida State's transfer class was 6th. Which transfer class would you rather? The class that had 14 players like LSU's, or the class that had fewer players but had Keon Coleman, Fentrell Cypress, Braden Fisk? Do you understand? So the ranking, the transfer class ranking is based on your total points. Well, the points are relative to the average of the player that you got. So that's kind of the point. I hope that makes sense. All right. There's a big difference in saying, hey, we've got 14 transfers that most of them didn't have to pay anything. And if you're Florida State and you say, yeah, our top 3 guys each got $300K. And they all picked Florida State over LSU because Florida State gave more money. Do you understand? Hope that makes sense. Okay, I got to go. See you. Peace. LSU Daily is already live. AFR 3 Peace.